So what's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a wonderful Saturday. Today, I want to bring you a little bit of message about addiction, and that's one of the main things that we want to use this for is to provide support and provide help to those not only in addiction but recovering addicts as well. For any of you who don't know my background, I spent somewhere around the tune of 18 and a half years in active addiction. And today I can gladly and gratefully say that, 2.5 years or so, 2.5 years, I have been successfully walking out a recovery. It's taken a lot of work. Some days it's not easy. Some days it's a breeze. But today I want to talk to you about a couple of things that I've learned that may help you or help somebody else that you know who is in this lifestyle and struggling through their recovery or struggling still in addiction. But first, I want to bring some facts that I looked up, some statistics about addiction that I want to share with you. Maybe you've heard them, maybe you haven't, maybe you've heard them and forgot them. But these will help kind of shed some light for anybody who's wondering what this. Some people call it disease, others call it conditions, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to label it. These are the statistics behind it. And I'm not going to read you a huge list, but just to give you some insight about who this affects and what it affects, and the numbers that addiction affects. So here we go. Addiction affects everyone, mainly. The immediate effect goes naturally to the person using or abusing whatever, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. I mean, you name it, it's an immediate effect on that person physically, mentally, spiritually. But not only do the addicts themselves suffer, but friends and family around suffer, directly and indirectly. The families of an addict go through worry, go through stress on either trying to help them or just being fed up. And, here recently I've been helping someone out who has definitely been affected indirectly by family members in active addiction, in and out of hospitals and things, and just the stress that it's put on her life. You can physically see it in her face and in the way she carries herself around. Like this hits home for more than just the addict. So keep that in mind. All right, so this study right here was in 2017. Drug abuse and addiction cost American society, that's you, that's me, that's every common taxpayer out there, $200 billion in healthcare, criminal justice, legal, and lost workplace production and participation cost. 2013, 10.9% of addicts who needed treatment actually received it. It's about 11 out of 100 people. 40 to 60% of those 10.9% relapsed, and only 10% have or are successfully recovered or recovering. Man, that is a low number. So 1 out of every 10 person who goes through treatment for addiction actually continues to walk it out up to a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years later. That is a low number. Let's go on with some more statistics here. 1 in 12 teens, it's teenagers, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, are in an active addiction. So there's some statistics. And what I want to talk to you about today is just a couple of things that I've learned not only in my walk with Christ, but in my walk in recovery as well, that helps make this a little bit more doable, a little bit easier, a little bit more feasible to walk out on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to throw a word at you, accountability. Not only does Scripture talk about it, but if you're a believer or a non-believer, the 12 steps, any 12-step program talks about this as well, accountability. So like, I'm going to ask you, who are you surrounding yourself with? In the 12 steps, the first step says that we admit. Second is we believe. Third is we made a decision, and on through, even down to the very last step, the 12th step, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others. So, accountability is a major thing whenever you're walking in recovery and whenever you're walking a Christian life. Let's jump out of the 12 steps and into the Bible. 1 Corinthians 13:9 says, "For we know in part, and we prophesy in part." Romans 6:1 says, "What shall we say then? Are we to continue in sin, that grace may abound?" And Galatians 5:1 says, "For freedom Christ has set us free." So there's this overlying theme, whether you're a believer or a non-believer, Bible, 12 steps, anything, we need each other. We need you, we need our spouses, we need sponsors, we need mentors, we need people to surround us. So that's the first thing. And I wanted you to ask yourself, who are you surrounding yourself with? Who can hold you accountable? Who can call you out in love? And, who can help spur this growth? Who can help walk with you during this recovery or Christian life? And two is, knowing your triggers. So what happens whenever the addict, goes along, and let's just give a scenario here, say, things get a little rough, say they get tight on money, or they're facing a situation that's real uncertain or real stressful. A lot of times I get this thought of, well, I could go back to certain aspects of my old life and still be okay. Well, let me tell you something now. You have to know your traps. You have to know your boundaries. You have to know your triggers. A little bit of transparency here and honesty. I've been looking for a part-time position so I can pursue this reach a little bit more than just, inside of the Facebook world. So I was looking for a part-time, and I received a call back on an application that I'd put in. If I'm honest, I really wasn't too intentional about my applications that I was putting in. I was just kind of clicking, went to Indeed, click here, click here, click here. If it said part-time, I clicked on it. So one of the calls backs was Ruby Tuesday Restaurant. And, I was kind of happy about getting the call back, but that's one of my biggest traps is anything to do with a bar. Now, if it was a restaurant that had no bar, maybe. But in times past, anytime that I saw my addiction getting out of hand, because I was aware I had a problem, and anytime I saw my addiction getting out of hand, 9 times out of 10, I was at a restaurant. I did restaurant for 13, 14 years. So I would say, all right, well, I'm gonna quit this job because there's too many people here. Too many influences, too many bad influences here. So I'm gonna quit this job, and kind of clean my act up for a couple of weeks and go get another job. Well, that other job would usually end up being another restaurant because a couple of reasons. I was afraid to step out, and two, that was the only thing that I'd that I knew. So I kept going back to what I knew because it was comfortable, because I knew how to do it. But the bad thing is that that surrounding that lifestyle is a major downfall for me. It's a major trigger point. It's a major trap. So what I'm saying here is, on the way, because of we and us and accountability, man, I had some people call me out on that. Matt, do you really think going to this job interview at a bar is a really good idea? No. So that's the second thing I want to talk to you about, is knowing your triggers, knowing your traps, knowing your downfalls. Okay. The Bible speaks of it. 12 Steps speaks of it. Anything out there speaks of it. Right? So take this to heart. If you're struggling, if you are wondering what the next step is going to be, if you're in a situation to where you're unsure of where to go, if money's tight, listen, don't go back to the lifestyle. Okay? Know your traps, know your triggers, and surround yourself with healthy, accountable people. God bless you. Have a great day.